And she looks at me, and then I look at her, and then she looks at me, and then I look at her, and it's like she's telling me, it's you. Hi lovelies, karibu sana to my YouTube channel. My name is Glynis. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you're new here, if you're a returning viewer, asante sana for the support. And happy new month, happy September. Just take a moment and appreciate the fact that you made it 9 months into the year, and not just any year, this pandemic year that has been filled with madness. It has been a lot, it has been tough, but as long as you are alive and well, then you have a reason to give thanks. Now, before I ramble on too much, as you can see, tumeva koti, and whenever tumeva koti, it means you're talking about law stuff. And in today's video, I'll be telling you a story of how I got into Moot. So as I've mentioned before, I went to JKUAT Karen Law School, and on my first day of reporting, when my dad was dropping me in school, a lovely lady called June came up to me and was like, "You want to join Moot Court?" And I didn't give it much thought. I was just like, okay. I mean, I am new, I'm in first year, what more could I do? I agreed to join Moot Court. I was like, okay, I'll come for meetings and I'll just see what it's about. So at that particular point, I didn't know what Moot Court was. I just thought it was like debate club, because I had done a bit of debate and I was pretty good at public speaking, considering on Fridays at high school I would like write articles and read them in front of the whole school. So according to me, I was pretty solid in that department. So when I went for the meetings, I don't think we had quite a lot of meetings before they organized the first competition, so I still didn't have a hang of what Moot Court was. So when they were coming up with the first internal competition to pick out the students who would participate in All Kenya Moot Court competition, I didn't know what Moot Court was exactly at that particular point. But since you've showed up and not so many people show up for Moot Court, if you go for the meeting, they tell you, okay, since you've come, pair up with this person and you'll attend. So me and someone else in my class were paired up for the competition. And I was like, so basi, it is what it is. I'm gonna try this out. When as I've said, I'm not sure what Moot Court is, but as I'm reading the question, I'm realizing, this is some next level stuff, and it's not what I thought it would be. But the beauty was also I was in East Africa Model UN, so when it comes to conventions and treaties, since I was in MUN, and MUN was so tough to get into in high school, I had a bit of a good background. I understood what resolutions were, what conventions were, but Moot Court is on a whole other level. It is so much more intense. It's not just about these treaties and conventions. Are these treaties and conventions domesticated? Do they have domestic laws? How has the violation occurred? Has this treaty been ratified? It's a lot. And I realized that this is going to be much. As I'm doing my research, I'm like, hey, I thought this was debate, but clearly it's not. So with my partner, my Moot Court partner at that time, we had decided I'm going to do applicant and he's going to do respondent, which was pretty sneaky, because if you've done Moot Court, the applicant side is always the toughest, because you're building a case from ground up. And the respondent side, your work is just to say, no, we didn't do it, and to find a loophole in the law that will protect you from responsibility. And thinking about it, now that I've done the whole law degree, the law has so many ways that enable people to escape responsibility because of loopholes. Anyway, I digress. So the day of the competition comes. I have tried to do my research, because into doing my research, into reading, I think during that week I was like, this is not what I thought it would be. But I've come up with points, I've put in the work, I'm feeling good about what I have to say. So when we get there, the team that was ahead of us is inside, so we're just in the lobby waiting. And when we're waiting, the guy who I'm supposed to be mooting with comes in and is like, me, I haven't SOMAD. So because I haven't SOMAD, I'm not doing this thing. And since you look like you've SOMAD, just go ahead and do it. And in my head, I'm like, did you think it would have been good to tell me this like last night? He's like, me, I can't do it. And I was like, it is what it is. And then he bounced. So me, I'm left there alone. And it's time for me to go in alone, since now I don't have a teammate and we were only the two of us. So I tell June, me, I don't think I can do this, because I'm alone and I'm only prepared for one side. June is a sweetheart. She's like, no, okay, just come in, do what you've prepared for. It's okay, the judges will understand, just explain. So I'm like, June, are you sure? She's like, yeah, just go in. So I'm in your car for psych. I go in, and the first question I'm asked when I'm standing there is, where are your submissions? Because in Moot Court, even in the legal practice, you draft your submissions, you give them to the court so that you don't have to say everything. You just give a summary of what you've said. The court will read your submissions and know what your case is, what you're relying on. I don't know what submissions are. I've never heard of submissions. I just have my 2 pieces of paper with points because all I've done before is debated. So I don't have submissions. That was like the first point where the judges were looking at me and they were like, Sasa, who you? And at that particular point, I think I was appearing before Maosa and Dachi. And if you've been to JKUAT Karen when they were in 4th year, Maosa is tough. Maosa might be thinking, this is such a good muta, like in his stone face. He's not even smiling to encourage you. And I think I was before Maosa and Dachi. So I'm before 2 people who really know what they're doing. And I don't know anything at all. So I'm trying to make a point and they're interjecting because I'm making so many mistakes. I don't know what IRAC is. I don't know how to start with issue, then rule, application, then conclusion. I don't know all this concept of moot court. So I was feeling so discouraged, even though like on the outside I'm still having my fighting spirit. I'm still like, even if I don't know anything, I will speak my mind. I'm going to be aggressive when they asked me a question. Even if maybe I didn't know the provision of the law, I probably remembered I had read something, so I would say what I've read. So all through, I put up a pretty good fight, but on the inside, I'm like, what have you gotten yourself into? It was even tougher than MUN. MUN was the toughest thing I had ever done. So the minute I finished like making my presentation, making my deliberation, mind you, I didn't know how to address the court. I was like, I'm going to present to you. I was green. I was massively green. So by the time I was leaving the moot court room, I left out there and then I went and cried. I was like, how can I embarrass myself like this? Is this how I'm going to start off law school? I was feeling really bad. Then June was like, no, you've already done it. You've probably really done a good job. So don't fret. Just come for the closing ceremony and then they'll just give comments that you can learn from also there. And then after that, we can call it a day. So we go for the closing ceremony and then they're like, this is how you should have addressed this particular issue. So I got a lot of feedback from there, but at the back of my head, I'm like, this is not something I'm willing to ever do again because it was extremely embarrassing. And I like myself as a put together person. I don't like feeling like I don't have control of our situation. And in that situation, I felt like I genuinely didn't have control. So after that, it gets to the awarding ceremony and they're like, oh, best male oralist, best female oralist. And me the whole time I'm just there. I'm like, okay, we should finish this so I can go to the hostel and see. And then they got the next category, which is the runners up. So they say second best male oralist, second best female oralist. I hear Grace Minor. Now, from my Get to Know Me video, my name is Glynis Grace Onjiku Minor. Glynis is my baptismal name. But I have met enough Grace Onjikos, Grace Minors, Grace Onjiku Minor. So me, because I haven't seen the other participants, and at the closing ceremony we're quite many, I'm waiting for Grace Minor to stand up. So I'm just looking around, I'm just like, Grace Penyako atasimama. And then I see June looking at me, and she looks at me, and then I look at her, and then she looks at me, and then I look at her, and it's like she's telling me, it's you. I'm a first year. Some people don't know who I am. And I stand up so unsure, and then people start clapping. And I'm like, what do you mean? I was falling apart in there. So guys, so I get feedback from the judges. The judges are like, you really did a good job. You held your ground. Yes, you did have struggles in particular areas, but that's something you can learn. But we think this is something that you're good at. You can actually articulate on issue. Kidogo too, I'm feeling good about myself. I'm feeling, oh wow, okay, even if I was completely falling apart, they saw something good in me. But this is a one-time thing. I don't think I'm going to do this again. I was like, cool, thanks. Let's continue with life. So I went back to my ordinary schedule, going for my contract, my TOTS class, my communication skills, those first year units where you're just being exposed to the law and you are learning your Donoho versus Stevenson and your Carril versus Catholic Smokeball, the good times before the law became the law. So what happened is I was just cruising and I was like, Moot got you to Shafunga, done, dusted, not doing that again. Since the 4th years were a very active class, they were going to compete, I think, in Zambia for the All Africa Moot Court competition. And since the 3rd years were not so active, the 2nd years were the ones who were really carrying on moot court in uni. So at that time, Missy, I've gone into hiding in my hostel, but I can't really hide because I'm class president. So whenever there are announcements for like there's a moot court meeting, I have to be informed so that I can inform the rest of the students to go for the meeting. So you could very easily go to the administration, ask who is the class rep, and you're told, and you come and find me. And at the time, there weren't a lot of first years mooting. So people could remember kuna ka second best female oralist mahali Kenye. We don't know where she disappeared to. And that is how Wes and Moffat came to my hostel when I was looking like crap. You know the way in the hostel you're in your sweatpants, your hair looks how, you don't look presentable. And our hostel was quite accessible since the lady used to cook and sell food. So at lunchtime, you can very easily come to the hostel and go buy your food and eat from there. So sisi when you're yumba tu hapo nje ya hostel, you can see akandio kale ka first year. So they came to me and they're like, yo, there's a meeting and it's either you come or you can approach Zakalakonya, who was a former student at JCOT Law School and had mooted like I think on the international level. So he was coming to train us on how to do it. And mind you, his time is valuable because right now he's out there hustling. Therefore, people had to show up for this meeting. Can't be getting out of his very busy schedule, tending to clients to come and teach us moot court, and people don't appear. So there was a massive recruitment. In that training, people really attended. So when we got there, like it was AC 102. The room was full, mpaka uko nyuma, and his way of training was really enjoyable because it was very practical. He won't tell you this is how you address the court. He'll ask someone who's probably booted before and tell them address the court. So the person will stand up and be like, if it pleases the court, my name is ABCD and I will be deliberating on this issue. So it was very enjoyable. At the back of my head, I'm still remembering the trauma. So I'm like, no. Okay, it wasn't a no, but also it wasn't a yes. I enjoyed the training. So during the training at some point, Miss Minor here decides, let's ask a question. And as I've said, Zach's way of training was not, he'll tell you what you want to hear. He's going to make you work for it. So it was like, that's a very good question. So what you're going to do is you're going to research on it and then you participate in this moot court. And that was heaven's way of telling me you're not running away from this thing. So again, I found myself going back into reading for moot court, which preparing for moot court is a lot of work. I genuinely understand that people don't want to join moot court because you're really studying on complex issues, you know. So I read for the moot court. It wasn't really that hard because again, I was in first year and this was now more of a training front other than a competitive one. So it was about tort, it was about like an issue of liability of you go to a mall and it's being cleaned and there's water on the floor, but then because the water hasn't been cleaned up, you slip and there was no cleaning in progress sign. So the injuries that you sustain, who is supposed to be liable for that? So it was very enjoyable. That was just how I got into moot court and hit the ground running. Looking back, I look at 18-year-old me and I feel like she was onto something, you know. She really did put herself out there. And moot court eventually did become a very big part of my life. It was my first time to travel overseas through the same moot court. It was my first time to travel outside the country. When I'm competing for school, I took part in a number of national competitions. I met so many people who opened up my mind in what the law looks like and all the other opportunities that are there with regard to the law. And that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you are in law school, I hope you have learned something. Please comment down below on what you've learned or what your experience with moot court has been. Also, if you want to see more videos on my law school journey, please comment down below and I will be sure to make more of these. Finally, please like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already, and be kind. In a world where you can be anything, in a year that has been this tough, be kind to one another, be there for one another, and surely we will make it through. Bye.